Good evening, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Grandpa.
Right, so I hope you can all hear me loud and clear.
Yes, please.
Thank you. And let me take this opportunity to wish all of you, is it happy Good Friday in advance or happy New Easter in advance? All right. And I'm hoping and praying that all of you will go through your exams very successfully, and then also in a more calm position. There should be no tension on anybody, especially once you are able to go through the guidelines we are giving you and your own preparations. You should be able to pass. Don't allow your first attempt to be stumbling block at all. After all, life is full of challenges, and some of these failures are bound to come. When they come, the best thing is to learn out of it. What went wrong, correct them, and you move on. After all, your failure doesn't make you a less lab scientist, no, at all. So I just want to encourage all of you, but also not to rest. Because if you think that, oh, you take it for granted that, oh, you pass at all costs, you may have a challenge again. You don't want anybody to suffer as fate again. All right. On that note, we're going to continue from where we left off the last time we met. We're just taking you through some aspects of the urine, and if you are lucky to get some questions on urine, I'm sure that uh, through the discussion that we've had, you'll be able to go through them easily. I was also of the hope that even when you put the exams aside, all of us, all of you, I mean, are working one way or the other. I'm sure that you're also picking some pieces that will still help you to build on your knowledge even as you practice. So it should not just be for exams. It's also some source of information to help you to also build your own career in a better way. All right. The last time we're talking about some of the parameters on our urine strip, and said that each of the parameters detect specific um, biochemical entities. Okay, and one of those things is the specific gravity. And I was just saying that specific gravity is not measurable only by the reagent strip. Okay, there are other means or methods to measure the specific gravity. It included what we call a urinometer. So just for purpose of examination, just remember a urinometer can also be used for specific gravity measurement. We also have a refractometer, which is also uh, uh, an equipment piece which can be used to measure specific gravity. And of course, the weighing technique, all of us know that the weight of a specific unit over the weight of the same volume of water will give you your specific gravity. I'm sure this one is basic from SSS and same principle. So any of them can be used as a means of measuring specific gravity. Now, we also said that you should be able to calibrate your reagent strip. And I was telling you that even the reagent strip that all of us are using in our labs now, you can put it to test. That if you want to calibrate the reagent strip, and for that matter, the specific gravity portion of the reagent strip, you need still water, and you need at least two different types of saline, Remember, saline solution is salt solution. It's not normal solution. Normal solution is also one aspect of saline solutions. If you talk about saline, you are not only talking about normal solution. Any salt solution is a saline solution. All right. But if you talk about normal saline, then you are being specific that we are talking about a saline whose concentration is 0.85%. Okay, so that is the difference between normal saline and just saying saline. All right, good. So, for example, you can prepare 5% saline. 5% saline will mean that 5 grams of your sodium chloride dissolved in 100 ml of water will give you 5% saline. All right, and 0.85% will be 0.85 grams of the sodium chloride in 100 ml of water. That will be your normal saline. All right. So if you want to calibrate specific gravity, all right, you will need still water. You will need at least 2 different types of saline solutions. The 2 different types will include normal saline and then 5% saline. And I challenge you to even to try this one in your own labs, wherever you are working. Now, I told you that if you take 3 strips of the multi-sticks that you have in your lab, take 3 of them. And then on one of them, at the specific gravity part, where you have a specific gravity, just add some few drops of still water. Okay, as though you were to test for urine. Just add some few drops of the still water to it. And then the second strip, add few drops of the normal saline. Okay, normal saline, few drops, just a drop or 2. And then the third one, add the same few drops, other 1 or 2 drops of 5% saline. Okay, and as though you are checking for urine. Now check for the values or the specific gravity values for each of them. For the distilled water, you should get 1.000. The specific gravity for distilled water should give you 1.000. The specific gravity for normal saline should give you 1.005. And the specific gravity for the 5% saline should give you 1.030. Okay. If you get a strip that gives you all these figures, it means that the strip is very, very good. It has passed the calibration for reagents for the specific gravity. Anything other than this, it means that the strip is suspect. I mean, it means that the strip may not be good. All right, and you may decide to say no, you can't do the strip. So one of the questions you may be confronted with is, by what means? Anthony, you are becoming a notorious for this kind of thing. Why? If you can't join us, nobody's forcing you. But anytime you join us, either you are in some car or in some meeting or in some, I mean, I don't think it's good. You are not likely to be a serious student. Please, I'm sorry to say this, but this is not the first time. You alone, all the time, you give me this bad feedbacks. All right, sorry for that. So you may come across a question like, what technique will you use to calibrate reagent strength for urine specific gravity? The answer is just simple. Okay, by measuring specific gravity of the still water and saline solutions, either saline solutions or salt solutions, the same thing, because we know that a salt solution is saline. So, but remember, I'm talking about the answer, but you remember that they will give you multiple answers. And you should also be able to read in between that one. As far as I know, if it comes to calibration of a reagent strip for urine specific gravity, please, you use the same water and salt solutions or saline solutions. All right. I also told you that there is a term called isostenuria. Iso means the same. Okay. 10 is about the weight or specific gravity, and of course, urea is in the urine. So you're talking about the same specific gravity of the urine. What it means is that, if you cast your mind back to how urine is formed, the blood will have to be filtered at the glomerular level. When the blood is filtered, it doesn't allow proteins to be filtered. So what is coming out, the filtrate, we call it ultra filtrate, it's a fine filtrate. And we also call it protein free because the proteins are not allowed to be filtered. So we call it protein free filtrate. All right. Now, that fluid which is coming out has a specific gravity of 1.010. That's the specific gravity of the protein-free plasma, all right, at the glomerular point. And you and I know that one of the functions of the kidney is to concentrate urine, okay? One of the functions of the kidney is to concentrate the urine. When you want urine to be concentrated, what it means is that then the specific gravity should be more than 1.010. Okay, because you want the final urine that comes out to be more concentrated. If it has to be more concentrated, then its specific gravity should be more than 1.010. All right. So if the urine specific gravity is 1.010, what it means is that the specific gravity of the urine is the same thing as the ultrafiltrate. That's the condition you call isostenuria. All right. So if every day you test the specific gravity of a particular patient, and it's always 1.010, every day 1.010, every day 1. Then she tell you that the kidney is failing. The kidney of that individual is failing to concentrate the urine. So it becomes early signal for you to suspect renal impairment. So these are some of the ways we expect all of us to act as scientists. That we know that the specific gravity of urine, normal specific gravity 1.010 up to 1.030. This is the normal range. If you want to remember, you can say 1010 to 1030. Okay, 1010 to 1030. So you write 1010, you write 1030. I know that specific gravity is up to 3 decimal points. So if it's up to 3 decimal points, then you place your point at in between the 1 and the first 0. So you get 1.010. And then 1030, if you put the decimal points in between the 1 and the first 0, then it becomes 1.030. So you get 1.03, 1.010 and 1.030. So what I'm saying is to remember, you say 1010 to 1030. And remember that that specific gravity is not 1010. It is 1.0 something. So just by way of remembering, the 1010 to 1030. So what I'm saying, so it means that 1010 is normal. But what I'm saying is that if a particular patient always has a specific gravity of 1.010, 1.010 every day, it is an early signal for renal impairment. I hope you have gotten me correct. All right. So we move on to urine glucose. Sometimes you say urine sugar, sometimes you say urine glucose. Why? Or what is the confusion about? Or why all that? Now, of course, when you say glucose in urine, use the word, we have glucose in urine, become glucosuria. And remember, you write your glucose and you write your urine. Okay, but you know that the Y and U, okay, this in literature, they call it assimilation of vowels. Okay, E and U are all vowels. So when they meet, one must meet the other. So it means that the U will go and then the U will stand. So that's how you call it glucose, glucosuria. Okay, so glucosuria is the presence of glucose in the urine. Now, glycosuria is the presence of carbohydrates. Okay, the presence of carbohydrates in urine. Okay, so that's the difference. And the carbohydrates that can be found in urine normally include the glucose itself, galactose, lactose, fructose, and so forth and so on. These are all belong to the carbohydrates. And therefore, any of them can be found in urine, okay? And that is how we call it glycosuria. Now, why do we have the urine glucose and urine sugar conflicting? I mean, it's like being used interchangeably. The history is that in time past, the method for detecting glucose was based on the reaction. You know, you have oxidation and reduction, okay? It was based on the reduction reaction of glucose. It means that glucose is a reducing substance. Okay, glucose is a reducing substance. You know that glucose is not the only reducing substance. There are a couple of reducing substances. The method which was used, okay, the method which was used in detecting the reducing substances or the reducing, let's say, the reducing reaction of glucose. That method was called Benedict's test. Benedict, and so Benedict's test. Now, Benedict test uses copper sulfate, and then once the urine is mixed, or any substance that contains a reducing substance, it's mixed with the copper sulfate and it's heated. Then the copper sulfate will be from copper 2 to copper 1. Okay. So the copper sulfate will do, the copper will reduce from copper 2 to copper 1. So that's a reducing substance, reducing reaction. Now, and then the color will change. The normal copper sulfate is bluish. Once there's a reduction from the copper 2 to copper 1, then the color will change. Okay, the color will change to something either greenish blue, greenish yellowish, and then eventually can become almost brick red. So that was the mode or the method that was used in detecting for glucose. But we say we are saying that that method, any reducing substance can change the color of the Benedict's reagent from blue to the color that you want. Okay, so when you put urine in the Benedict's reagent and you heat and the color turns to either yellow or from the normal blue to, let's say, green or yellow or this, you cannot conclude that it was glucose, because we say that any substance which has the capacity to reduce can do that. And therefore, you couldn't have said that it was glucose. You cannot specifically say that it is glucose that has turned the color from blue to, let's say, green or to yellow. What you can say that a reducing agent, and therefore any of the carbohydrates, so to speak, can do that. And therefore you couldn't specifically say that you are dealing with glucose in the urine, You can only, and all of us know that the carbohydrates are also called sugars. And so you can say that it's a sugar in the urine. I hope I'm making myself clear. So since the method that was available was not specific for glucose, when the test is positive, you cannot say that you have detected glucose in the urine. The best you can say that you have detected a carbohydrate or a sugar in the urine. That's how come we had the urine sugar test, okay? Because the method that was available was for reducing substances, and therefore any of the carbohydrates which has a reducing capacity will give you a positive results. Now, as we speak now, the urine strip that we are using is specific. It's not based on Benedict's reaction. It is based on glucose oxidase. Glucose oxidase. And so once you have glucose oxidase, it means that there's an enzymatic reaction. And once you have an enzymatic reaction, you know that enzymatic reactions are more specific. And therefore, they specifically detect the glucose. So now you can conveniently say that the method available, either by the strip or whatever, is based on glucose oxidase, which is specifically detecting for glucose. And therefore, now what we test in the urine is urine glucose and not a urine sugar. But no, unfortunately, up to now, we are still writing urine sugar. But I want you to understand that the difference between the sugar and glucose is that in the sugar, you are basing your results on the Benedict's reaction, which detects all reducing substances. And therefore, it could be any of the sugars can give you a positive result. And once any of the sugars can give you a positive result, you cannot conclude and say that I've detected glucose in the urine. I'm saying that contemporary tests is based on glucose oxidase method. And glucose oxidase is enzymatic. And once it is enzymatic, it means it is specific. And therefore, you can conclude and say that when it is positive, you can conclude and say that you have glucose in the urine. Right. So that is how it is. Now, there is what we call renal glucosuria, or say glycosuria. But remember, whenever you say glycosuria, you're talking about a sugar and not necessarily a glucose. But the two appear to be used interchangeably, even though we use interchangeably. But I'm sure by the explanation I've given you, you can always explain yourself. What is renal glycosuria? We know that when at the point of urine formation, when at the glomerular level, we have the ultrafiltrate, okay? We have the ultrafiltrate. All the things have been filtered, the plasma have been filtered. Then, you know, glucose or sugar is in solution. Sugar is not like a protein, which is molecular, that can be retained at the glomerulus. Okay, glucose is always in solution, and therefore the ultrafiltrate will come along with the glucose because the glucose is in solution. Now, this glucose must be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream because they are saying that at the glomerular level, they have all been filtered, except protein, because proteins are macromolecules, and therefore they cannot be filtered. But glucose will be filtered because glucose will be in solution. It has dissolved in the plasma, and therefore it is in solution. Therefore, it will be filtered. Once it has been filtered, it has to be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. Now, the reabsorption has a limit. Okay, so if the sugar or the glucose in the ultrafiltrate is more than 10 millimoles per liter, okay, it's more than 10 millimoles per liter, then the reabsorption limit, okay, the reabsorption limit has been reached. Anything beyond the 10 millimoles will be allowed to be passed through into the urine. It is important to know this. So The level after which or beyond which glucose will be found in urine is what we call the renal threshold. And it's supposed to be 10.0 millimoles per liter. What it means is that if you check somebody's sugar, blood sugar, or blood glucose, and it is 9.0 millimoles per liter. Okay. Now, by all indications, 9.0 millimoles per liter is diabetic. Okay. However, if you check the urine glucose by the definition of renal threshold, do you expect the urine glucose to be positive? Yes. Can somebody help us with this? I'm saying that if you check, we talk about renal threshold, which is 10 millimoles per liter. That's the point beyond which glucose will be spilled into the urine. So if you do somebody's blood sugar or blood glucose, and it is 9 millimoles per liter, which is by all indication the patient is diabetic, because the level, the upper limit for blood glucose I'm told is about 6.3. Okay. Now, so somebody with 9.0 millimoles indicates that the person has high blood glucose, which is indicative of diabetes. Now, if we do the urine sugar or the urine chemistry or urine analysis, do you expect glucose to show positive? And why? If yes, why? If no, why? Anybody to help us? Please help me. If you're able to answer some of this, it means that, like I've told you, we are even though our focus is on the exams, we are still also learning to help us in our practice. Otherwise, we could have gone just talking about exam questions and blah blah blah. But we still have to create a platform for learning. So I just want to get a feedback whether you understand what I'm talking about. Anyone to help me? Yes, Godfrey.
Okay, Grandpa. I think you will not see. I think you will not see glucose in the urine because the plasma concentration.
You see or you get. Sorry, you see or you get.
You will not see glucose in the.
Is this some? The word C is what I want.
No. Okay. It will not test positive. It will not test positive in the urine.
Why?
Because the plasma glucose concentration is not yet above the renal threshold.
Fantastic. So you see that is it. So once it is not above the renal threshold, you don't expect the urine glucose to be positive. Now, so that is it. Now, if glucose, let's say at 9 millimoles or even let's say 8.5 millimoles per liter, there is sugar in the urine. What does it mean? There's somebody to help us. Now, by our understanding, if you get 9 millimoles or even 10 millimoles per liter of the blood glucose, you don't expect urine to show positive because it is not above the renal. The thing is that you must cross the renal threshold before it becomes expelled into the urine. So once you have not crossed beyond the renal threshold, you don't expect your urine glucose to be positive, which is very fantastic. Now you have a situation where somebody's blood glucose 8.5 is nowhere close to the renal threshold, yet there's glucose in the urine. What does it mean? How will you explain yourself? Somebody to help me?
It means that the person's kidney may not be functioning properly.
Yeah, the person is beginning to lose renal functionality is beginning to be lost. And I like it. It means that if you have not been able to reach the renal threshold, yet it means that the capacity to absorb the urine has gone down so low. And this is the condition called renal glycosuria or glucosuria. It means that, and these are all early signals of renal impairment or kidney impairment. You see, these are the ways as scientists, you should be able to, that's why sometimes you wait, we are writing on urea and creatinine to go high before we say that the person has kidney problem. If you want to rely on some of this, before your kidney, your urea creatinine goes high, your renal renal impairment has reached about level stage 3, and therefore you are getting close to end stage. But this small, like we talk about consistently getting a lower renal specific gravity, that should tell you no. The urine specific gravity is consistently low. There should be a problem. That even at a glucose level of 9 or 8.5, there's sugar in the urine. It means that the renal kidney, the kidney is failing in a way. So these are the things that as scientists we should be able to pick up also to be able to help our patient management. All right, thank you so much. And I like the input you have made so far. So this is the condition we call renal glycosuria. When there's glucose in the urine, even though the renal threshold has not been reached or has something like that, that's what we call renal glycosuria, and it is an early signal for renal impairment. Let us, as lab scientists, let us see how we check for our urine. All right. Now, we said that the earlier test for detecting for glucose, or for that matter, sugar, is what we call the Benedict's test. Benedict's was a reagent. The reagent was called Benedict's reagent, and it's made of copper sulfate. I'm saying copper sulfate is copper 2, and because it's a reduction method, the copper 2 will reduce copper 1. Okay, so that is that. The reagent, which was in the liquid form, was now they tried to make it in a tablet form, so that you don't need to prepare a reagent and also involve heating and stuff. So there was a modification, and that reagent was prepared into a tablet, and the tablet was called Clinitest. So keep note of that. So Clinitest is the tablet form of the Benedict's reagent. I hope that you are getting it. So, and the test was made in such a way that, as soon as you put the tablet in the urine, or even you put the tablet down on the let's say filter paper, and then you add some few drops of the urine, the reaction will start. Okay, and then you get your test. So it was a modified form of the Benedict's test. And remember, I've told you that the Benedict's test was not specific for urine. Was not specific for sugar. Hey, sorry for the mess up. Was not specific for glucose. Okay, any reducing substance will test positive. So we say that the Benedict test, and for that matter, the clinic test, is non-specific. I hope that you can follow me there. The Benedict test was detecting any substance that can reduce the copper sulfate, the copper to a lower this level. So therefore, it is not specific. Any substance that has the capacity to reduce will test positive. And therefore, the clinic test, which has been converted into clinic tests, is non-specific. Okay, so if the urine contains galactose or pentose or the glucose or lactose, all of them are reduced substance, and therefore, even if it contains ascorbic acid, ascorbic acid is one of the powerful reducing substances. Okay, if the person is producing ascorbic acid in the urine, then it will test positive for glucose. Okay, that is how it is. So if there is formalin, okay, it has been known that formalin too is a reducing substance. So if let's say the container that the person pee inside contains some few traces of formalin, the test will show positive. Okay, because just a reducing substance that the test is checking for, and it's not checking for sugar specifically or glucose specifically. So it is a non-specific test based on reducing substances. Good. I hope I've made my point there. Right. Then we come to the point where we are using the glucose oxidase, which is specific. It's based on oxidizing, not oxidizing, oxidase reagent. It's more enzymatic. Okay. And therefore, that is more specific. That one was also made into the strip form, the strip all of us are using. You sometimes get a strip which is specific for glucose alone or sugar alone. That one is crenestix. Crenestix. Let me go to the next page and see. So you see crenestix. So the difference between crenestix and crenitest. Okay, crenestix is based on glucose oxidase, and therefore it is specific for detecting glucose. Whereas crenitest is based on benedicts, and therefore it's detecting sugars. Okay, let's see how sometimes they ask questions to also test your understanding of crenitest and crenistix. Remember, crenitest is non-specific. Crenistix is specific. Now let's take the last listen and then you see some question. You have a negative crenistix. A negative crenistix. That's it. And I remember I've said that crenistix is the dipstick, the normal dipstick or urine dipstick that we use. It is not based on benedicts. It is based on glucose oxidase. All right. So if that one is positive, crenitest and let me read this one. A negative crenitest and a positive crenitest suggest that some substance other than glucose is present in the urine. I hope I'm not confusing you. So you do a crenitest, okay, which is negative. However, you do a crenitest and it is positive. What it means is that there is a reducing substance or a sugar other than glucose. Because if glucose were present, then the crenitest should also pick it as positive. All right, the crenitest should have picked it as positive. But the crenitest said it is negative. And crenitest say it is what? Positive. What it means is that there is a certain sugar in it other than the glucose. Okay. And this could include galactose, lactose, and fructose. These are all types of sugars that can be found in urine. Okay, right. Now let me see. Good. This is a sample question on urine sugar. A woman in her 9th month of pregnancy has a urine sugar test that is negative with crenitest, but positive with crenitest. The sugar most likely to be present in the woman's urine is, yes, I'm demanding answers from you. A woman in her 9th month has a urine sugar test that is negative with the crenitest, but positive with the crenitest. The sugar most likely to be present in the woman's urine is, yes, you can help us. Able to answer this, then it means that you are actually following the discussion. Now, Portia, you are always late for class. Yes, answer the question. Is Portia on the line? I can see that you are here, but whether you're on the line or not, that's what I can tell. Aha.
I'm there.
Yes, my dear. So
In fact,
you just joined, eh? Have you just joined? Because what?
yes.
It's what?
Say see.
Have you just joined?
Glucose.
Have you just joined? Or you are following? You are following me all through.
Say it's yes, no.
Yes, no. Who can help my girl for me?
I was in the car. My network was not.
Okay, I can understand. I can understand. Who can help my lady for me? Yes, who can help us? Yeah, Joe. I thought Joe was on the line. Nana, as some people are trying to unmute. Okay, Nana.
Please, I'll go for lactose B.
You go for lactose. Any seconder, anybody, and you have to come and explain to us why you go for lactose. Yes. Anybody to support Nana for me. Ladies and gentlemen, please, are you following the discussion, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So let's try to solve this question, because these are sometimes these are some of the questions they bring. They just want to test your understanding of the things that we do. Remember we said that if you do the clinic test, you are doing what was going to be the Benedict test. And Benedict test is non-specific. Non-specific means that anything which is a reducing substance in the urine, it will show positive. And that was why when you were using the Benedict test for urine tests, for urine glucose, you couldn't say that you are checking for urine glucose. You can only say that you are checking for urine sugar, because any of the sugars, either lactose, glucose, galactose, any of them can be present in the urine, any of them can give you a positive result. And I've told you that clinic test is based on that principle. The clinic test is based on that principle. So the clinic test is non-specific. And then clinic test is rather specific. That the urine is based on the glucose oxidase test. And that is more specific. That is what is used in the Anthony back with his noise. Anthony.
Oh.
All right. So clinic is specific for. Now the question is saying that, you see, once it's a woman in her 9th month, when a woman is in her 9th month, is likely to producing lactose. You know that. You say that's why I say it's a lactating. You are likely to lactate. You are likely to produce milk for your unborn baby. Okay, because if clinic, please listen to me very well. If clinic tests shows positive, it can be due to galactose, it can be due to glucose, it can be due to what? Lactose. Okay, now we say that the clinic test, which is specific for glucose, is negative. It means that in the answers you have to rule out glucose. So my Portia, please, I hope you are listening. So
Yes, sir.
Once you say that clinic test is negative, it means that glucose is out of your possible answers. Okay, then you are talking about other forms of sugars, the lactose, galactose, and maltose. Which of them is likely to be in a pregnant woman with 9 months? You see, so that's how we have to, because Galatos, when Galatos is in urine, you can also get the plain test to be positive because it's also inducing. Okay, but why will you go for lactose? You go for lactose because you say it's a woman who is 9 months, and once it's 9 months, it's likely to be producing lactose because it's going to be very soon. It will be a lactating mother, and you see, once women are pregnant, once even I don't know how to put it, but they will not wait until they deliver before the breast begin to let's say become big. Okay, you know that sometimes if you want to find out if a lady is pregnant, sometimes you just look at the breast, see that the breast will be showing some sign. Portia, is that not it? So once you are pregnant, so you see, so once they give you a question, they are also trying to also test your intellect. So they will have said that the urine, remember when we said that, let me go back to the previous slide. I said that a negative clinic test and then a positive clinic test. Clinic 6, and I just said that. But look at how a question has been framed, that a woman in her 9th month of pregnancy has a urine and it tested negative for clinic 6 and positive for clinic test. So it means that you have to add some information from the whole sentence. So in fact, is it Nana who answered for the lactose? It's very correct. Very correct. But I just want us to see that it was not like by lotto that I'm just checking on lactose. No, you are taking lactose with a reason, with a science. The science is that once the urine has tested negative for cholestasis, that one glucose is out. So glucose cannot be an answer. So you are looking at maltose, galactose, and then the lactose. Then you are looking at a woman who is 9 months pregnant. What is it likely to produce? More likely to produce lactose than the galactose and the maltose. And so we go in for the lactose. And lactose will give you a positive result for clinic test because it's also a reducing substance. All right. I hope that you will not disappoint me when you come across some of such questions. Then we are looking at ketone bodies or the ketones. These are all the parameters that you encounter on the urine strip, the dipstick, the multistick. These are the parameters you come across. We just want you to have idea about each of them as much as possible. So the ketones or ketone bodies, there are 3 entities that make up the ketones or the ketone bodies. Please take note. You have acetone, you have acetoacetate, or what we call acetoacetic acid. And then you have beta hydroxybutyric acid. These 3 make up what we call the ketone bodies, or for short, the ketones. Okay. Now, you normally will get them once you have fat metabolism. That's when fat is being broken down. Under what condition will fat be broken down? The body. Under what condition will you get fat being metabolized? You see, you can get fat. The body will resort to fat metabolism when, let's say, there is inadequate carbohydrate. If you are not eating well, if you are not taking in adequate carbohydrate, then let's say your energy requirement is higher than what your carbohydrate metabolic activity will give you. Then the body will have to fall on the fat. And then that's why if, let's say, you have fat body and you are not eating well, you see that you burn some fat, the fat, because the body will rely on the fat. Okay, so you see that the process of fat metabolism is hastened in starvation. If, let's say, you are not eating, okay, or you are fasting, automatically there will be the body will resort to what we call it, relying on the fat. And then Once fat is metabolized, its end product is the ketones or the ketone bodies, acetone, acetoacetate, and beta hydroxybutyric acid. Take note of this. Again, if let's say somebody is diabetic, you know you have the DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. You know that when somebody is diabetic, you have a high level of sugar, but the sugars or the glucose will not penetrate, will not go into the cells for it to be used. So even though there's too much sugar in the body or too much glucose in the body, then as far as the cells are concerned, they are starving, and therefore they will fall on what? On fat. And so when they fall on fat, then you are going to get the products of fat metabolism, which are the keto bodies. So that's how you have diabetic ketoacidosis. And remember, the ketone bodies, which we have mentioned, they are acidic. Forget about the acetone, the acetoacetate. It's acetoacetic acid. The second one is beta hydroxybutyric, which is beta hydroxybutyric acid. So it means that you are going to get put the body into acidotic state. So you understand it? And they are from ketones. So that's how I can get diabetic ketoacidosis. All right. So it means that if somebody also have diabetes, he can get ketones in the body, because even though the body has sugar, the body is not able to utilize the sugar. And like the body is hungry, and therefore will fall on fat metabolism. And of course, if you also decide not to also eat and you're starving, or now you are elect, some people, of course, me, I'm unable to do that. God forgive me. I'm unable to fast. So those, I'm sure Portia is fasting. Some are very highly religious. You are fasting. If you are going to do urine, you are going to do a urine array, you are likely to get ketones to show positive. Not that you are sick, maybe you are starving, the body will have to survive, and therefore it will fall on fat metabolism. And the end product of fat metabolism is the ketones. So that is it. One way by which you can easily take pregnancy in what do you call it? In the young ladies. You know that when the young ladies, when they are pregnant, a lot of them get anorexia, okay, and they get what we call hyperemesis. Anorexia, they don't even feel like eating, and even when they eat, anything they eat, they throw out, they vomit. Okay, so you yourself, you can't eat. You are pregnant, you can't eat, and then whatever you do, you vomit. What do you think will happen? The body will only survive on your fat deposits, and therefore you are going to get ketones. So if you get ketones, you get ketones in a young lady urine, you suspect pregnancy. Not that you're using ketones as a pregnancy test. No. Okay. Now, so that is it. Somebody who is not eating well or is fasting or whatever is not eating well, you are likely to get ketones in the medicine. But that's not pathological. That doesn't mean that the person is sick. Okay. Now, also take note, don't say that, oh, grandpa said that if you have a young girl with ketones in the urine, you should suspect pregnancy. What if the person has malaria? You know that if you have malaria, you also probably may not feel like eating, get anorexia. You can also, at the end of the end, also happy. So that is also there. So don't say that grandpa says that, oh, when you have ketones in the body, you should suspect that the patient, the lady may be pregnant. You also have malaria. Like I've told you, when you have malaria, you have the same system, physiological system happen, that you eat and then you vomit, or you don't even feel like eating at all. And therefore the body will fall on fat metabolism and therefore produce ketones. Okay. So once ketones are present in the urine, I'm saying that the predisposing factor is that the patient is not eating. So you find out why is he not eating. and then you can. So that is what we are talking about. The reagent strip, okay, the reagent strip that tests for the ketones uses what we call sodium nitroprusside. All right, the reagent strip, it tests ketones using sodium nitroprusside. The thing is that sodium nitroprusside can only react with acetoacetate. Take note. The sodium nitroprusside, I'm saying that the test for the ketones, the reagent is based on sodium nitroprusside. And I'm saying that sodium nitroprusside can only react with the acetoacetate. So it means that, yes, we have ketone bodies, we have acetone, acetoacetate, and beta-hydroxybutyric acid. And you are saying that the test strip can detect only sodium nitroprusside. Using sodium nitroprusside, we can detect only acetoacetate. It means that if you don't take care, you can easily miss ketones. You can easily miss the ketones. So when you have all the three, the acetone, acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyric acid, it is only the acetoacetate that is detectable. I want you to take note of that, especially the diploma level. This is a very, if they want to ask questions on urines, this is one of the easy questions that they can easily ask. So for the ketones, the detectable parameter is acetoacetate. And the reagent, which is used is also sodium nitroprusside. Now, so what it means is that if you have urine standing there and the urine contains the ketones, okay, acetone is highly volatile. You and I know that acetone is volatile. So it will not even sit in the urine for you to come and detect it. Assuming that even the sodium nitroprusside can detect it. It is volatile, so it will escape. You can detect it. Then the beta-hydroxybutyric is not reacting with the sodium nitroprusside. Okay, so you will only be left with the acetoacetate. Good. If you allow the urine to stand for a long time, what will happen is that the acetoacetate will also break down to acetone. Okay, the acetoacetate will break down to acetone. And as we said, the acetone will escape. And therefore, you also cannot pick the ketones at all. So sometimes, a lot of times, we miss the acetone, we miss the ketones just because of a little delay. The strip can pick acetoacetate alone. Take note of that. Acetone is volatile. You can't detect it. It cannot rest there for you to come detect it. And then the beta-hydroxybutyric is not also reacting with the sodium nitroprusside. So you will only be left with the acetoacetate. And I want you to take good note of that. Okay. So we'll talk also on urine proteins. And all of you know that. Yes, sir.
I want to ask a question.
You want to ask it? Please do. Please.
Please, I want to find out the relation between ketones and UTI.
And what? UTI?
Sometimes, yeah, we are being told positive ketones could also be suggestive of UTI. And I want to know what the relation between ketones.
Not really. You see, UTI and ketones, as far as I know, has no relationship. UTI and ketones, as far as I know, you see, the ketones is coming from fat metabolism, period. And the body will only resort to fat metabolism under what condition? I want you to help me. Under what condition? Is it under condition of UTI?
No,
on the condition of starvation, on the condition of inadequate carbohydrate intake. So if you're not taking in enough carbohydrate, through whatever means, whether you are sick, so that you can eat properly. And therefore, the body too must survive. So the body will fall on your stored fat. If you have diabetes already, and you have enough glucose in the system, all of us know that when you have enough glucose in the system, the cells may be starving. That's why we say, oh, glucose is diabetes is like somebody who is rich. yet don't have cannot have food to eat or something like that. You see, in diabetes, the patient has a lot of the glucose, but the glucose must enter the cells before the cells will metabolize it or will use it. The entry of the cells into the entry of the carbohydrates or the sugar into the cells are impeded in diabetes. And therefore, as far as the cells are concerned, they are starving. And therefore, they will fall on fat metabolism. Okay, so you have high glucose level and then also high ketones. That's where you have the diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, I've also told you that if somebody is vomiting and you have what we call hyperemesis. Hyperemesis is high levels of vomiting, like early pregnancy, especially the young girls. The way you can catch them, they always be vomiting. They always be vomiting. And so once they're always vomiting, even if they take in small water, they will vomit. It means that, in effect, the body is being starved, and therefore, the body will start to fall on fat metabolism. Okay, and if the person also automatically is or voluntarily starving or fasting, as we have now with the Lent and then the Ramadan or whatever, people are starving, and therefore they are likely to get ketones in the body. That has no relationship, as far as I know, with UTI. What I know is that if a urine pH, if urine pH is high, it's likely to be UTI. If nitrite is positive, I think we have discussed all these things. If nitrite is positive, it is likely to be UTI. Okay. Now, if you have triple phosphate crystals is likely to what? UTI. And all this is, there is science behind it. You see, if the person have bacteria in the bladder, okay? If you have bacteria in the bladder, remember I told you that urine, one of the normal components of urine is nitrate, phosphates, of course, some salts, okay? Phosphates, nitrates, salts, urea, these are all normal components of urine, okay? So if you have UTI, okay, and for that matter, bacteria in the bladder, once the urine, the bladder becomes the reservoir for the urine which has been formed through the kidney. Now, when the urine comes, and even the urine is clean and sterile, because there's bacteria in the bladder, then the bacteria will begin to split the urea. The urea is the major component of urine, okay? You know this already. Then they will split, some of the bacteria will split the urea. And then the urea, the urea will become ammonia. And then immediately it turns the pH of the urine, which should have been acidic, to become alkaline. Okay. Now, as soon as the urine becomes alkaline, I'm talking about what is happening in the bladder. As soon as the urine becomes alkaline, you know that phosphates, magnesium crystal, magnesium, aluminium, so all of them are normal in the urine. Okay, they are normal in the urine. But in alkaline condition, which has been created by the presence of the UTI, then the phosphates will now bind with magnesium, ammonium, and then phosphates, which are all normal in the urine. So you have what we call the map: magnesium, ammonium, phosphates. This is what we call the triple phosphate crystals. Triple magnesium, ammonium, phosphates. They form those crystals. So once triple phosphate crystals are being formed, you get the impression that then the urine pH is alkaline, because the only means by which magnesium, aluminum phosphate will form a crystal is when you have alkaline condition. I hope that you are following me. So when you have alkaline being formed, triple phosphate crystals being formed, it means that the urine is alkaline. Fine. No two ways about it. If the urine is alkaline, it means that there's some bacteria there which which converted urea into ammonia. And then the ammonia made the whole urine become what? Alkaline. And that's how come the magnesium, aluminum, which are all otherwise were normal in the urine, will now form a crystal and become what you call the triple phosphate crystals. You understand? So that is the science behind it. All right. So as far as I know, that is what it is. And you can also have the nitrite. As soon as nitrite becomes positive, you know, a lot of bacteria are able to reduce nitrates to nitrites. So if you do your urine test, you know that the urine multicysts, it also have nitrite. If nitrite is positive, it means that there's bacteria there. If bacteria is not there, nitrate will not become nitrite. Okay, so you can have it as positive. So some of the indicators of UTI, high pH, and then what do you call it? Nitrate becoming nitrite or nitrite positive. These are the things that will actually point to UTI. Okay, right. And I'm saying that as far as I know, sorry, as I'm telling you, as far as I know, ketones, as far as I know, I continue to say this, as far as I know, ketones have nothing to do with UTI. Okay, ketones is a metabolic activity, metabolism. Okay, and it leads to acidosis. So you can say that it can cause metabolic acidosis. Okay, right. And if it causes metabolic acidosis, then the urine should rather be more acidic. The urine should rather be more acidic and not alkaline. Okay. Right. Any other question? Please, are you clear with the explanation I gave, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Yeah. So let's get to the proteins. I'm saying that proteins, you and I know the major two proteins are the albumins and the globulins. The globulins are big, and on a normal circumstance, they cannot be filtered in the glomerulus. Okay, so at the glomerulus level, globulins are not filtered. What is likely to be filtered will be the albumin, because the albumin, the molecular size is close to the glomerular basement membrane. Also have some pores. Okay, and the pores will on a normal circumstance, is smaller than the size of the albumin, and therefore proteins will not be filtered. Albumin will not be filtered. However, when the glomerulus is beginning to deteriorate or beginning to have a problem, then the basement membrane, the pore sizes of the basement membrane will begin to become bigger. And once they become bigger, then the albumin, which is usually close to the size of the pores, once the pore have enlarged a little bit, then the albumins can now filter. So once you have proteins filtering, a large extent, what are you expecting to filter into the urine? Just as we talk about the ketones. If you have ketones positive, what you are testing is nothing but what? The acetoacetate. You got the acetone and then the beta acetic acid. Even though they are part of the ketones, you cannot detect them. Similarly, if you talk about proteins, you are talking about you are talking about the globulins and then the albumin. We say that the globulins, by the structure, they are so huge that they cannot be filtered. What is likely to be filtered will be the albumin, because the albumin, on a normal circumstance, the molecular size is close to the pore size of the basement membrane. So once the basement membrane now becomes compromised, then the pore size will increase. That will now allow the albumin to filter. So if you have proteins in the urine, what exactly are you detecting? Anybody? If you have proteins in the urine, what exactly are you detecting? Any help, please? Anybody help me? Oh, please. I don't want to go so fast that we don't learn anything. Okay, otherwise we could just rush through, but I want us to learn from it so that, yes, you are prepared for exams, but you're also learning to also enhance your own practice. So help me. If you are putting in, for example, if you have ketones in the urine, what exactly are you measuring? You'll be measuring the acetate, because the rest that are among, you can't be thinking about them. Similarly, when I'm saying that if you have the proteins, basically you're dealing with globulins and albumin. Now, I've told you globulins per their structure, you know that globulins can even be the monovalent one, which is the IgG, is even huge. Look at the Y structure of it. And then the bivalent, the IgA is what? Bivalent, double of the Ys. And then when it comes to IgM, it's what? Pentavalent. That's huge. So the structure of globulins are said that they cannot be filtered at the glomerulus level. If proteins are made of globulins and proteins, and globulins cannot be filtered, if you have proteins in the urine, please, ladies and gentlemen, what actually are you measuring? Please don't disappoint me. Oh. Somebody help me. Oh. Pasha. If you have proteins in urine, what will you be measuring?
You're checking the kidney.
Come again.
I said the kidney.
No.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is it the? I think you are checking the albumin rather.
Yeah, checking the albumin. That's so as simple as that. Like I keep on, like I was saying, if you come to the ketones, I was emphasizing because I think I spent a lot of time on the ketones. Then there are three of them that become the ketones: acetoacetate, acetone, and beta hydroxybutyric. Acetone is volatile; it escapes. Hydroxybutyric acid, beta hydroxybutyric acid will not react with the sodium nitrochloride. What will act with the nitrochloride will be the acetoacetate. So if your ketone test positive, what will you be measuring? You will only be measuring the acetoacetate. And then I come in with the proteins. Proteins, you have the globulins, you have the albumins. The globulins are so huge, and before anything can be found in the urine, it ought to have been filtered. Okay, that's it comes from the blood, be filtered. Now, once you have globulins too large to be filtered, if you have proteins in the urine, it can be nothing but just about what? The albumin. So that's why we have what we call albustics. Remember, we have clinicics. I said clinicics is a strip or a stick that is based on glucose oxidase that detects the presence of glucose in the urine. So if you have albustics, it will be a strip designed or a dipstick designed to test for albumin in the urine. For example, if you have ketosticks, sometimes these are small ones they use to test you, but they don't test. This one they test for the sometimes when the lab assistants. They think that you should know these things, not even diploma level. Okay, but you should have to know if you have ketosticks. Ketosticks will be a strip or a urine sticks detecting ketones. As simple as that. Okay, right. So with the proteins, you only be testing for albumin. Okay, you only be testing for albumin. Now, albumin detection using the strip is based on what we call protein error of indicators. I cannot, if you want to explain this alone, it can take us the whole day. So just the principle of detecting urine proteins is based on protein error of indicators. This also if they, like I keep on saying, because sometimes the questions they can concentrate on, let's say, on urines. Sometimes if you don't take care, they will concentrate on pathology. If you don't take care, sometimes they concentrate on I don't know, but I'm just hoping that in case you are fortunate to have questions which are concentrated on urine, these are some of the questions that they ask on urine. Okay, and so that's why. So we are praying that I mean, some of these things come up. But if they have to ask questions on urines, it will never be different from what they are discussing. Okay, right. So as far as urine proteins are concerned, your target is on albumin. Okay, and albumin, the principle of detection of albumin is based on what we call protein error of indicators. Protein error of indicators. So, like I said, if I want to talk about protein error of indicators, it will take a long time, but just take note of what we call protein error of indicators as the principle for detecting urine proteins. All right. So we are moving on to the urine sediment. I want to ask your permission. I have another meeting at 6:30. So I'll cut short. I owe you under 30 minutes. I'll fix time to meet you. And then when we meet, we quickly go to urine sediment. All right, urine sediment. So, but on the chemistries, urine chemistry so far, if there's any question anybody want to ask, please do. Please do. Any question on the discussions we had previously and today on the urines? All right. So next time you quickly go through urine sediment microscopy, some of the things that you'll find in the urine sediment and their meaning. For example, if you have epithelial cells in the urine, you have to be able to tell us what is the nature of the epithelial cells. Because we have squamous epithelial cells, you have transition epithelial cells, you have membrane epithelial cells. Each of them, when you find them, means something. And that's why, especially the ML level, they will not just ask you the kind of epithelial cells or the kind of cells you find. Nobody will ask you. But if you have, let's say, squamous epithelial cells in urine, what does it mean? You have transition epithelial cells in urine, what does it mean? If you have renal epithelial cells in urine, what does it mean? Okay, so we will quickly, the other day, I think we quickly talked about those cells and then the greater cells. I'm sure you remember. All right, ghost cells are usually seen with red cells. Okay. When the hemoglobin in the red cells leak out, leaving the ghost or just the cell membrane of the red cells. We call them the ghost cells. So when you talk about ghost cells, you're talking indeed about AHPCs, which have lost their hemoglobin. If you talk about greater cells, and in urine, if you have white cells, you know white cells, we have neutrophils, the basophils, all the what. The ones that are associated with bacteria are the neutrophils. Okay, and remember, so if you have the ETI and white cells are coming in, which type of white cells will come? Only the neutrophils will come. Okay, when the neutrophils come, and like we said earlier, because bacteria is there, bacteria will usually alter the pH and will make it alkaline. In an alkaline environment, the white cells begin to swell, okay, and they take in more water. They take in more water. When they take in more water, then you know that the granules, you know, the neutrophils are granulated. That's why I call it granulocytes. Cytes are cells. Granules. So granulocytes are cells that contain granules. The typical example would be the neutrophils. So neutrophils is a granulocyte. Now, when a neutrophil takes in water from the environment, which has become alkaline, the alkaline environment facilitate water movement into the cells. So the white cells or the neutrophils will now take in water as soon as they take more water, they become bigger. Okay, once they become bigger, then the granules will swell, will like swim within the cells. Okay, and like I told you, there's something we call Brownian motion. You know Brownian motion from DHS or SSS. Brownian motion is the bombardment of water molecules against particles. So if water gets into the cells and then they have granules in there, the water will be bombarding the granules, and then it will be like something is shaking. And then you say it is glittering. When you say something is glittering, I'm sure you know. That's why you call them glitter cells. So these things, they can easily ask the MLSD people, for example. Okay, so glitter cells. So when you talk about glitter cells, they are nothing but white blood cells, and for that matter, neutrophils, which are taking in extra water by means of, let's say, the environment, when the environment becomes alkaline. So if you are getting glitter cells, you know that there's an infection. Because if there was no infection, the pH will not become alkaline. You understand? So that is the way, and I'm trying to link this one with what my our brother asked about what do you call it, ketone bodies and UTI. So if you rather get glitter cells, it will rather tell you that there's a UTI. Okay. So next time when we meet again, you talk about some of these things, and then you can understand the better. If you are, hello, somebody want to ask a question?
Please, a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please, you just mentioned that if there may be a question in microbiology, it will be either pathology or on the urine.
No, please, you didn't get me. I'm saying that I don't have idea about how they say their questions, but what I'm saying that sometimes, for example, I've heard that you people who send the exams, I've heard, and I may be wrong, that a lot of the questions in microbiology were on what? Is it pathology or something? And then, for example, the questions which were on hematology was on NLA or HLA or something. Sometimes nobody can predict. So if you are lucky, you can get the questions in a certain direction which may favor you. For example, we are concentrating on urine, for example. If you're lucky and the questions come and they are all, a lot of them are on urine, you can just get them and you see that the things that they ask questions about on urine are those things that you are discussing. Okay, you can if you are not lucky, you go in and the questions were strictly, let's say, on biology. Meanwhile, you haven't done much of biology, and then so what I'm saying is that in case you have questions that are centered on urine, they'll only be around the things that you are discussing. Please, are you getting me? Don't misquote me.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying that sometimes the questions can happen to be one way. Either a lot of the questions in microbiology, either a lot of questions are on biology, or a lot of the questions are on, let's say, analysis, or a lot of the questions are on pure bacteriology. But I'm just trying to say that, okay, let's take urine and treat urine in a manner that will help us both in the exams and also in our practice. And I'm saying that I'm sure we are learning something that appears new to us, isn't it? Even with the urines that all of us do, I'm sure we are learning something which is new to us. And I'm saying that these are, if it comes to urine, these are the type of questions they can be asking. Okay, if it happens to be on urine, these are the, for example, glitter cells. If you have urines on urine, exams, questions on the urine, glitter cells, squamous epithelial cells, and what have you, RBCs. How will you check that? There are certain things that look like RBCs. How will you differentiate RBCs from those things? And you know that if you add dilute acetic acid to anything that contains blood, what will happen? If you add dilute acetic acid to something that contains blood, what will happen? Yes. Can somebody help me? If you have blood and you add dilute acetic acid to it, what will happen to the blood? Right. Can somebody, I have to go somewhere, so but let me, who knows about text fluid? Text fluid, TURKS. Text fluid. Who can tell me? Text fluid. This is hematology anyway. Text fluid. Anybody with idea about text fluid? Oh, I just want to use that one to answer a certain question. Do you know about what WBC diluting fluid? The WBC diluting fluid. Do you know about it? Anybody with idea about WBC diluting fluid? Anybody with any idea about WBC diluting fluid? All right. So because of time, next time when we meet, I think I will try to. Hello. Yes. Nana.
It will lyse it.
Yes, it will lie. So the text fluid is actually made of 2% acetic acid. And that is what people call the WBC diluting fluid. And that's what we use if, let's say, you are in microbiology and you want to do cell count on aspirates or CSF or this thing, you use the text fluid. And it used to be used, especially in hematology, because before the advent of automated hematology analyzers, you were counting white blood cells. Do you have idea? We are actually counting white blood cells using what we call the Neighbor counting chamber. Okay, and the reagent that we use, which people call WBC diluting fluid, is actually called text fluid. It's made of acetic acid, 2% acetic acid, which is mixed a little bit with either crystal violet or even gypsum. So that solution, you should be able to assign, you should be able to know something about text fluid. And the basis that 2% acetic acid will lyse red cells. So if you have a blood and you want to count the white cells, you only have to lyse the red cells. Okay, using the dilute, what do you call it, acetic acid. So there are certain things you have to apply the principles. Even though it is hematology, you can apply the principle in microbiology, right? So please, ladies and gentlemen, I know some of you are working, but try to read. You also try to read so that some of the things that we discussed, you can easily apply them. All right. Thank you so much. And remember that I'm not concentrating solely on exams. I'm just having a mix, of course, focusing on the exams, but rather also wanting to also learn so that you can still improve on your knowledge to be able to deliver whatever you are doing in your labs. And wherever you are, as for your analysis, whether you are in a private lab or whatever, I mean, analysis, everybody should be able to do analysis and do it competently. Okay, right. So thank you so much. I will leave opportunity for one last question from anybody. One last question from somebody. Otherwise, I want to believe that it's okay for the day. Anybody with one last question about what we have done so far on the urinalysis? So we'll make it a day. Thank you for your time. And like I've said, I'll make time for the last 30 minutes before we continue. Thank you and enjoy your
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.